Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart and whatever's in your mind. We thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and your viewing environment right here in 3D, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? This is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water, this is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for all of you who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and I'm Senior Pastor of New Life Christian Center located at 400 Hillcrest Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. So if you're in our area, we invite you to come and worship with us on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. And if you're not in our area, you can tune in to the Sunday sermon on our YouTube channel at New Life Christian Center Pastor Pope, where we go live at 10:45 a.m. We invite you to come and experience a better quality of life. And of course, this morning this afternoon, we're having some technical difficulties, so I am just now ensuring that everything is functioning properly so we can spend some time together right here in 3D, where we are broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio. And we thank you for tuning in. I'm going to remind all of our listeners and viewers, we want you to remain connected with us throughout the week on our internet radio station, WKAPFaith.com, where we play music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, music that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you. 365 days a year, 24 hours a day at WKAPFaith.com. And for all of you that are in our Delaware Valley area and viewing and listening audience, we want to say that if you know someone who is dealing with food insecurities, we invite you to invite them to come to our New Life Food Source Pantry, where we provide food for those who just need help. If you know someone that's dealing with food insecurities, have them contact us on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. We will give them instructions on how they can receive food from our New Life Food Source Pantry. So we're good. We're in our technology issues have been resolved, and I want to start with the communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated, for the first time in a long time, you feel like you can accomplish anything. However, you want this momentum to last, and you ask the question, how do you keep this momentum? You know, I'm going to say this to you. This is an interesting communication, and this is really important for all of our listeners and viewers to recognize also. There are going to be times when we feel more energized, more inspired. Now, one of the things I'm big on is consistency. And it's interesting because we had one of those conversations this morning. But I'm big on consistency. So if you're just consistent about doing the work that is part of your life of success, if you consistently do the work, there are going to be moments when you feel very energized, you feel very inspired. You have to really maximize those moments. And so right now you're feeling like you can accomplish anything because things have been going well, they've been moving forward in the direction you would like them to move. you want to maintain that momentum. So you said, how do you make that last? How do you keep that momentum? And the way that you do that is to, and this is going to sound very, very simple, but you have to keep the focus that you've had recently. You know, I often talk about eliminating distractions. You know, I once upon a time, I would say to people, reduce the distractions you have in your life and eliminate the distractions that you have in your life. You know, find the ones you can reduce, eliminate the ones that you can eliminate. But I'm a firm believer now, and as we grow in this thing, in this faith walk that we have, this faith life that we have. But one of the things I've realized is that you only begin eliminating the distractions by reducing the distractions. Now, there are some things you can just eliminate immediately. However, most people find it difficult to, you know, the old adage, cold turkey, certain distractions and just eliminate them. But you have to maybe reduce some of the distractions first, reduce the time that you spend on certain distractions, and then eliminate them. But I will encourage you to recognize this. The reason that you've been able to get this momentum is because you have not just been reducing distractions, you've been eliminating them. When we eliminate distractions from our lives, we're able to be more disciplined, we're able to be more focused. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is examine the focus that you've had, how you've eliminated some of the distractions. And now you'll find that you have more momentum. You'll have more energy. You'll be more inspired. You know, what happens is that when you have a relationship with the Lord, God will eliminate some distractions from your life. It might require more work of you, but He's eliminating those distractions for a reason, because they're slowing down your momentum. You have to keep your momentum. You have to be able to focus on exactly what you're trying to accomplish. And it will require us to eliminate distractions. But in your case, you've been able to do that. So now let's talk about this. Let's talk about the focus that is necessary to keep this momentum. You have to say to yourself, I won't go back to that. I won't go back to doing that, because even though it may have felt good at the time, you now know that you have momentum that will allow you to, you say do anything, but it will allow you to accomplish your heart's desires. So for all of us, it's important that we become more focused. It's important that we, even though some things make us feel good for a moment, we've got to be focused on the big picture. We've got to be more focused on what we want to accomplish than we are about feeling good for the moment. Because most distractions make our flesh feel good. They make us feel good for the moment. But they're not allowing us to gain the momentum we need to accomplish the great things that we have purposed for our lives. So I will say this to you. Examine the focus that you've had. Now, some people will ask the question, well, how do you examine the focus you have? Examine the distractions you've eliminated and continue to keep them out of your daily life. Whatever you've been doing right now, and I don't mean just right now, but whatever you've been doing right at this time, continue doing that, because that's going to allow you to keep some of the momentum that you're experiencing right now. And sure, there will be ebbs and flows for all of our listeners and viewers. There will be ebbs and flows of your momentum. However, you can maintain momentum if you maintain your focus. You can maintain momentum if you keep those distractions out of your everyday life. Now, I will say to all of us, we have to desire to accomplish more. We have to desire to accomplish everything that God has purposed for our lives. That has to be our focus. And when we can focus on the purpose of life, the problem is some people don't know their purpose. But when we can focus on the purpose of life, why am I here? We're going to find that we're going to be much more productive. And God will give us the momentum to accomplish the purpose. It's when we get distracted that we get bogged down. So I will encourage you to examine what you've been doing right at this time and continue doing it. Continue to do that and you'll continue your momentum. And you'll, like you see now, things falling into place, coming to pass, they'll continue if you continue to focus on your purpose of life. Not your purpose for the weekend, not your purpose for the holiday, but your purpose for life. And you'll continue in the momentum. What happens is we get distracted by what we want to do on the weekend or what we want to do over the holidays because we got a long weekend, whatever the case may be, and we find ourselves then getting bogged down and not keeping or maintaining the momentum that we've established. So analyze what you've been doing right at this time and continue to do that, and you'll continue in your momentum. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. If you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may have the opportunity to become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you have reconnected with your brother who has stayed away from the family due to your family being, as you stated, dysfunctional. You said, however, he has done extremely well in life, and you do not want him to perceive that that's the reason that you have reconnected with him. Well, think about this. You yourself said your brother has done extremely well in life. So your brother's a smart man. He's very astute. He will be able to discern that your intentions are good. You're not reconnecting with him because you want something from him. He'll be able to discern that. So you don't have to concern yourself about the perception he's going to have. What you don't want to do is make the fact that he's not been around the family and has stayed away due to the dysfunction. You yourself said the family's dysfunctional. And many of us come from dysfunctional families. But your brother decided he didn't want to be a part of the dysfunction. That's the reason he stayed away. Doesn't mean that he doesn't want to have a relationship with you. And because in your reconnection with him and your initial conversations with him, he's been able to tell that you're no longer dysfunctional or that you're not part of the dysfunction. So he's open to being reconnected with you because you're family. But if you were still dysfunctional, he's not going to want to reconnect. He's not going to want to continue that connection. But that's not the case. So just keep moving the way you've been moving so that he can see that reconnecting with you is a blessing. Don't try to get him to change his mind about being around the family, because that's not going to happen. Because your brother does not live with confusion or dysfunction. And that's the reason he's done very well in life. One of the things you've got to realize is that, and I want to bring this to your attention because it'll help many of our listeners and viewers. As I stated very early, in this communication, many of us have come from dysfunctional families. Family dysfunction, whatever it might look like. Many of us have come from family dysfunction. The way that you know those who want to continue to stay in that dysfunction is that they never change the quality of their life. Now, your brother's seeing that you've moved away from where all the family's located. You're not far away from them. You're able to visit when you want to visit. But what you have done is you've geographically moved out of the immediate area of the family. So he sees that. He sees that you are moving forward in your career. One of the ways that your brother has identified dysfunction is that if he could make changes in his life and you're now making changes in your life, others could make a change in their lives. And if their lives look the same, which they do, as they've always looked, then they're still living in dysfunction. They haven't made any changes. One of the things I often tell people when they say to me, well, my family is this and my family is that. But if they're not making any change, then you're still part of the dysfunction. There has to be change, growth, development. Let me rephrase that and break that down. There has to be change in attitude, behavior, level of discipline. There has to be development. There has to be some growth, right? There has to be something you can see different. Not just words, not just lip service, but this is what's occurred differently in my life. And that's what your brother's seeing in you. You finally have moved away, like I said, not far geographically, but you far enough that on a daily basis, you are moving forward. You're making progress in your career. You're making progress. And I know people will say, well, I'm stuck. Well, you don't have to be. And that's what happens. So your brother's seeing a change in your life. He's seeing a change in attitude. He's seeing a change in, your development, your discipline. So he's reconnected with you because he sees that there's change, that you're no longer part of the dysfunction. But everyone else is still living the way they've always lived. And look, people will move away and carry their dysfunction with them. They'll just create new dysfunction. But you haven't done that. So that's why your brother's excited about reconnecting with you, because he's seeing that you're no longer part of the family dysfunction. And like I said, we all Many of us, not all, there's exceptions to the rule, but many of us have come from family dysfunction. But the good news is we come from it. We didn't remain in it. And that's the good news for you. So I want to encourage you by just saying, allow your relationship with your brother to continue developing. You don't have to worry about him thinking the reason you want to reconnect because he's done so well and because you want something from him. That's not what he's thinking about. He's looking at where you are right now, what you're doing right now, what you've shared with him, what he can see. And he's saying, okay, you've made some changes. You finally have made some changes. You've gotten away from the dysfunction. You're not struggling with the dysfunction any longer. What you've done is you've made some changes and decided to eliminate the dysfunction. And that's a good thing for you to experience. And your brother's going to be a witness of it. So he's excited about that. So don't stress yourself out thinking that he's going to think you want something from him now that you've reconnected. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. I'm in Charles Tyrwhitt Attire today. And if you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And the White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at their retail store. They have everything you could possibly need. Home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you ran into your girlfriend's ex-husband at a social event and you said that you are attracted to him. And by your interaction, he appeared to be attracted to you also, although he did not make any advances. Okay, so here's what you got to realize. Just because two people are attracted to one another doesn't mean that they belong together. And even though there's a couple of components to this, you ran into your girlfriend's ex-husband. If you start a relationship with your girlfriend's ex-husband, she's going to always in her mind, if she remains your girlfriend, she's going to always in her mind wonder if you were attracted to him while they were married. That's always going to be in the back of her mind, which is going to have an impact on your friendship. Just because you ran into him at a social event doesn't mean that the two of you, even though you may have the same interest, doesn't mean that the two of you need to date. Now, fortunately enough, he's a man, so maybe he was attracted to you. Maybe your interaction did demonstrate that he was attracted to you. Maybe the two of you did feel that draw towards one another. But, however, at least he was wise enough to understand that that's not something he wants to become involved in, even though he may have been attracted to you. He doesn't want to get caught up in the drama of, I'm now dating my ex-wife's girlfriend. That's never going to be healthy. And at least he was wise enough to understand that. So you're sitting around wondering why he hasn't contacted you. You're wondering why, if he was attracted to you, why the two of you aren't going to explore that. Be a good friend and stay out of that. Don't even try to explore that any further. Don't try to ask your girlfriend, does she mind if you contact him because you ran into him at an event? Just let it go. You know, I get it. You're at a social event, you exchange business cards, you're in a similar industry, great. But you have to recognize that because that's your girlfriend, that's not going to be healthy. That relationship's not going to be healthy. It would be something that the two of you would do that would just be a sport. It would be an interaction that the two of you would get involved in, and it wouldn't last. Because there's going to be drama. There's definitely going to be drama. Now, I know some of you might be sitting out there saying, well, you're eliminating a segment of the population, Pastor Polk, because, you know, if that's her ex-husband, there's a reason that's her ex-husband. There's a reason that's her ex-husband. Let me just say that. Whether it was just that the two of them were found to be incompatible with, you know, that's not really a solid reason for destroying a covenant, but there's a reason they're ex. That they're both ex. And I'm sure both of them played a part in that, because contrary to popular belief, both parties always play a part in divorce. And what I mean by that is, one person could be doing something that is just detrimental and not feasible to continue, but nonetheless, I always go back to this. The reason people get divorced is because they were not people that God joined together. They were people that we chose to be connected to and join ourselves together. That's why divorce happens. But let's just recognize that that's her ex-husband and she's your friend. So you don't really want to pursue that, because then what you would be doing is pursuing drama. And I will say I'm thankful that he was wise enough to realize that although you might be someone he's attracted to, you might be his type, that's not conducive for a successful relationship, because she's still your girlfriend. And I mean, when I say still your girlfriend, she's actively a part of your life. And even if she wasn't, that still isn't a good idea. Even if she was no longer your friend, that's still not a good idea. Because sooner or later, that's going to rear its head. Were you messing with my husband while we were married, or were you always attracted to him and you just never said anything, but you were waiting in the wings until it's never going to be good. So save yourself some trouble. Keep your distance from one another. If you run into each other at another social event, nice to see you, glad to see you, hope all is well. That's going to be the best medicine that you can take, is to just be cordial and not try to create something between the two of you that's going to later cause you some anxiety and some grief. Today's Daily Divine Direction Broadcast 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding.